Meeting to order. First thing I need is a motion and a second for Eden to be on the phone with us. Can I have a motion? Okay, Linda, second. Sharon, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carried. Welcome, Eden. Next, we've got approval of the minutes. Is there any, can I have a motion for that? Linda, second. Danny, second. Thank you. Any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Nay, or motion against it, nay. Okay. Moving on to reports. We've got the Tri-County Regional Planning Commission minutes. No new ones. Any questions on those? Okay, unsafe structures, any questions? Development summary, any questions? Okay, we'll motion to file and receive them. Next, quarterly strategic plan update. Scott, will you do that for us?
Happy to, Mr. Chairman. So you'll see this in every committee packet except Ways and Means, because Ways and Means does not have an action plan item assigned to it. But for this committee, goal number 17, which is the comprehensive plan update. This is the update for the second quarter. If you recall, we were going to partner with Tri-County Regional Planning Commission for the update of the comprehensive plan. They had applied for a state DOT grant, which is the acronym is SPR. It's a planning grant that IDOT distributes every year. Just in the last week, Tri-County was informed by IDOT that they were not awarded that grant. So now Andrew and the team have got to go back and evaluate some other funding opportunities and methods for how we get this project completed. So happy to answer any questions along those lines if the committee has any.
Any questions for Scott? Okay, moving on. Back to that. We'll move on to the zoning cases. The first case is ZBA-2024-045, petition of Robertson's Used Auto Parts LLC. Can I have a motion to put that on the floor? Matt, Linda for a second. Andrew?
Thank you, Chairman Rosenbaum. This is a special use request from Section 20-5.11.2.3.a of the Unified Development Ordinance. This section allows for a special use for junkyards in the I-2 Heavy Industrial Zoning District. The petitioner proposes to expand operations of an existing auto salvage business, which is Robertson's Used Auto Parts. It has been in operation at this location since 1953. They're looking to expand onto 2 parcels adjacent to the south, as well as construct a new building on the existing property. This proposed expansion will allow for increased inventory, equipment and storage supply, and parking capacity. There were 0 consents and 0 objections. It is located at 9107 West Wheeler Road in Hollis Township. Land uses include timber to the north, residential to the east, open space to the south, and industrial to the west. The nearest off-site residence would be located approximately 80 feet to the east. This is a residence owned and occupied by a relative of the owner of Robertson's Used Auto Parts. The request is consistent with the Comprehensive Land Use Plan Smart Growth Principle, which states new residential, commercial, and industrial growth is located in areas within or adjacent to areas of existing development. Staff recommended approval, and the Zoning Board of Appeals recommended approval 6-0.
Any questions for Andrew? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried unanimously. Next, we have case ZBA-2024-051, petition of Paul Lopez. Can I have a motion to put that on the floor? Jimmy, can I have a second? Linda, thank you. Andrew?
Thank you, Chairman Rosenbaum. This is the first of 3 cases in which the applicant was Mr. Paul Lopez, who is present today. This is a special use as required in section 20-6.6.1.1.c of the Unified Development Ordinance. This section allows for a special use when a proposed land split does not meet the 1/4 acre minimum lot size for parcels served by community sewer in the R2 medium density residential district. The petitioner proposes to divide 0.173 acres from an existing 0.417 acre tract. The proposed 0.173 acre parcel consists of a single-family dwelling with a fenced-in backyard, while the remainder 0.244 acre parcel will contain a detached garage. The single-family dwelling was constructed in approximately 1955. There are 1 consent and 7 objections on file. I will note that the objections are specific to the vehicle repair shop, which is the 3rd case. However, all cases were listed on the objection form. The subject parcel is located at 1103 South Schmidt Avenue in the northwest quarter of Section 14 of Limestone Township. It is currently zoned R2, along with parcels to the east, south, and west. There are an additional 13 lots with single-family dwellings in the immediate vicinity. Those lot ranges are 0.18 to 0.23 acres. Parcel is served by public water and public sewer. It is currently accessed from South Schmidt Avenue via paved driveway, while the remainder 0.173 parcel is currently accessed from West Russell Avenue via a gravel drive. Staff recommended approval for this case. The Zoning Board of Appeals voted in favor 6-0.
Thank you, Andrew. Any questions? Sharon?
I just want to let you know that I'll be voting no on the next 3 cases. Okay?
Andrew, was there any of the adjacent neighbors, were they for or against, or how far away were the ones that were voting against it? Or
So Mr. Lopez did submit a consent form that had 12 consents from immediately adjacent neighbors. However, it was specific to the 3rd case, or at least it only referenced the case number on the 3rd case. So we did not technically count it in this particular application, whereas the objectors form did list all of the cases. So we were only able to count 1 consent, which was present at the hearing, and then 7 objections for this specific case. So this one addresses the land split component. This is strictly taking a residential parcel and splitting it in half. It does not meet the minimum lot size to just do that without coming before your committee.
any other questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, we have 1 nay. Okay. Next, we have case number ZBA-2024-52, petition of Paul Lopez. Can I have a motion to put that on the floor? Linda, second. Matt, second. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a rezoning request from R2 medium density residential to C2 general commercial. The petitioner proposes to rezone 0.244 acres in order to operate a vehicle mechanical repair business. This is the follow-up case from the first one, in which they'll take the northern half of that proposed parcel and rezone it to C2. The petitioner proposes to rezone the 0.244 acre tract, which will then allow them to apply for a special use to operate a vehicle mechanical repair shop. This case has 0 consents and 7 objections on file, as previously noted. The proposed subject parcel consists of an existing 1,300 square foot garage. According to the petitioner, the 2 lots to the southwest are used commercially for vehicle storage. Other non-residential uses in the immediate vicinity include a commercial business located 80 feet west of the subject property on the corner of Airport Road and Middle Road. 3 additional properties to the east are zoned C2 general commercial, and approximately 1,000 feet to the west down Airport Road is the Interstate 474 interchange, which generates 22,000 vehicle trips daily. According to the petition, the subject parcel is served by public water and sewer. It has frontage on West Russell Avenue, the Limestone Township Road, and South Airport Road, State Highway. The proposed subject parcel is currently accessed from West Russell Avenue via a gravel drive. It is consistent with the Peoria County Comprehensive Land Use Plan, Smart Growth Principle 2 of developing commercial and industrial growth in areas within or adjacent to areas of existing development. Staff recommended approval. The Zoning Board of Appeals voted in favor 5-1 of approving this request.
Thank you, Andrew. Any questions? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Excuse me, Chairman.
Aye.
Whoop, hold, sorry, wait a minute. Terry?
Is this the, tell me again, how many oppose this? What was-
7.
7. Are they all contiguous neighbors?
No, none of them are contiguous.
None of them are contiguous neighbors. Okay. And the staff recommends approval without restriction.
Correct.
Okay.
Did he answer all yours, Terry?
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Okay, we have one nay. Next, we have case number ZBA-2024-054, petition of Paul Lopez. Can I have a motion to put that on the floor? Linda, second. Jimmy? Andrew?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a special use request from section 20-5.8.2.1.p of the Unified Development Ordinance. This section allows for a special use in the C2 General Commercial Zoning District for vehicle mechanical repair. The petitioner proposes to allow for repair and maintenance of tow trucks. The petitioner states that the proposed vehicle mechanical repair shop would be used to service the company's vehicles for Paul's Towing, the petitioner's insurance contract towing business. He states that he has 4 flatbed tow trucks used by Paul's Towing, which weigh approximately 12,000 pounds when unloaded. The petitioner intends to utilize the existing 1,300 square feet garage to maintain and store these vehicles when not in use. He also states that towed vehicles will be staged on the property outside of the garage for short periods of time. The building will not be open to the public and will only be used by employees of Paul's Towing when needed. There are currently 3 employees for Paul's Towing. The petitioner also states that a majority of the operations take place off-site. There are 12 consents and 7 objections on file. I will note that some of the objectors are present here. The subject parcel is zoned C2 General Commercial, pending the outcome of the previous case. Land use of the subject parcel is currently residential, along with all surrounding parcels. According to the petitioner, the 2 lots to the southwest are used commercially for vehicle storage. Other non-residential uses in the immediate vicinity include a commercial business, Holland Specialty, which is located 80 feet west of the subject property on the corner of Airport and Middle Road. There are 3 additional parcels to the east, zoned C2 General Commercial. Approximately 1,000 feet to the west, down Airport Road, is a 474 interchange. Subject parcel has frontage on West Russell Avenue, a Limestone Township Road, and South Airport Road, a state highway. Subject parcel is currently accessed from West Russell Avenue via a gravel drive. The petitioner states that the average number of weekly vehicle trips would be closer to 3 to 4 trips per week, as the property would not be open to the public, nor would it be utilized daily. The staff recommended approval, and the Zoning Board of Appeals voted in favor 5-1 of approving this request.
Any questions for Andrew? Terry?
Andrew, did staff consider a restriction on the hours of business? Given that this is in a residential neighborhood, are the neighbors going to have tow trucks coming and going at any hour of the day?
The petitioner did indicate within his application hours of operation. Let me just verify those for you. But no, we did not consider a restriction on the hours of operation to answer your specific question.
Is it within our jurisdiction here to be able to add a restriction like that?
Certainly, you can make whatever recommendation you'd like to.
I'm not in favor of spot zoning commercial into residential areas. However, I don't think at 3 trips a day wouldn't be a terrible hardship unless they were at 1 o'clock in the morning. If we're talking about pulling vehicles, for service, bringing them in to be serviced, that vehicle breaks down on the highway without any particular schedule in mind. So I don't think it's far-fetched if there's some consensus that we would restrict this to normal business hours.
And
I'd like to know what the
clarify,
rest
Mr.
of the
Lewin,
committee thinks.
To clarify, it's not intended for public use of tow trucks. So if your vehicle breaks down the interstate, he's not coming to pick you up. He's utilizing it for insurance services. So when he's picking up a totaled vehicle from the estimator, he's bringing it back to this property temporarily before then ultimately delivering it to perhaps a junkyard or an impound or another lot. So he's not a for-hire tow company.
Nonetheless, nothing in the approval restricts him to any particular hours.
That's correct.
Again, I think residential is residential, and some expectation of a minor inconvenience to keep it largely residential is not asking too much. So, and a voluntary restriction by the petitioner doesn't necessarily allow us any jurisdiction over it. If we place the restriction in the approval, on the other hand, it does give us some enforcement capabilities. So I'd like to know what the rest of the committee thinks about that, adding that restriction, that they do business in a residential neighborhood under the restriction of daylight hours only, or not daylight, but normal business hours.
My question would be, Andrew, is on the objections, if there's 7 objections, are these the same 7 objections for all parcels? So we've been going along here. What are their objections? I would like to know, maybe they have a valid point on their objections. I don't know.
Right. So the objection that was submitted to the Zoning Board of Appeals indicates that we object to Paul Lopez installing a vehicle repair shop with tow truck services at the parcel ID or addresses of premises in question. So that's the generic version. They testified that the two representatives that are here today testified at the hearing that there were vehicles that were constantly present. It looked like a junkyard at times. There was trash and litter and burning. We have not been able to validate any of those concerns at a staff level. We've had some complaints for parking on the neighboring property, but we didn't have any previous complaints or violations within the department for litter or any of the other objection material. Strictly parking and loading, and I will say this has been going on for probably a year or so. We've been working with Mr. Lopez to bring this property into compliance.
Matt?
Was it any objection on the roads coming in? Was there any objections from the road commissioner, the city, anything like that?
No, the road commissioner granted him actually an additional access point in the last year. That is...
They were fine with it.
Yes. Well, they didn't comment.
And then none of
There was no comment.
the complaints come from the traffic in and out at any time?
They indicated that they wouldn't like to see, tow trucks and such at that intersection, but there was nothing specific to, we have difficulties, with sight triangles or anything of that way.
I guess I don't see it any different doing that as if somebody has a house call bringing a mechanic, if you're going to bring a plumbing business and somebody calls you and you go out, there's no difference on your hours restriction, and if the road's fine with it, I think that it's way too late to try to throw that restriction in here today, right now. I guess it's a towing company, so what would you expect if we passed the other 2 or 3? Why would we do this now? It's just my opinion on it.
Linda?
I just want to clarify, Andrew, the business does not repair the cars. They simply tow the cars, correct? And the repair is of the towing vehicles themselves, is that right?
That's correct. It's Mr. Lopez's fleet vehicles that he intends to repair, do oil changes, tire rotations, whatnot, within the confines of the building. We have two different definitions in our ordinance. We have automobile vehicle repair, which is going to be our residential vehicles per se, and then we have vehicle mechanical repair, which is those heavy commercial vehicles.
And this is vehicle repair?
This is
This is not car repair?
That's correct.
So, okay, thank you.
Since we supposedly have a couple of the residents that were against it, I'm gonna, if they would like to speak now, I'm gonna let public comment before we vote on it, so they have a chance to give us their opinions before we vote. That way, yeah, they feel like they've had their due process, and it's not like we're hearing them after the fact. So, if there's anybody here that'd like to speak, they need to go over to the microphone. I'm gonna let Jenny give the instructions of what you can and cannot say, and we'll go from there.
A reminder to the committee members that the ZBA is the fact-finding body, and so all facts related to this case have already been received, and new facts can't be brought forward at this stage. All of our meetings have public comment, so of course people are allowed to give public comment, but for your vote and your deliberations, all you can consider are the facts that were presented at the ZBA level.
If you give your name and address and before you start, that way, if you could give your name and address so we can make sure we record that in the minutes, would appreciate that before you start. Thank you.
My name is Helen L. Burgess. I reside at 1023 South Schmidt Avenue, which is 2 houses over from this location that they are talking about today. I have lived in that subdivision for 57 years. I am 81 years old. When I moved in 1967, this subdivision was a nice, quiet family neighborhood, and I raised my 5 children there. After they were raised, I went back to work, and I'm now retired on a limited income and blessed to be living in my own home. And I shouldn't have to move. The location of the vehicle repair shop and salvage yard 2 doors from my home would devalue my property and would be impossible to sell the property for anything close to its real value. No one wants to buy a home where they have to put up with dust, debris, dirt, noise, and bad smells from fumes and chemicals that were burned in a 55-gallon drum, and fluids that may be spilled, vehicles that may leak and track chemicals and fluids onto West Russell, South Schmidt Avenue, and Kruger Lane, that is directly across from the Morton Building and services 7 residents, including mine. Mr. Lopez has been delivering vehicles to the case numbered stated property, sometimes parking in front of the properties, including my home, unloading and loading vehicles, sometimes quite late at night. This is a noise issue. He has done some repair work out of the Morton Building, making very loud banging noises, also late at night, another noise issue. He has created a new entrance to the property off West Russell just before the stop to enter onto Airport Road. His tow truck and other vehicles have dragged dirt, mud, and debris onto the roadway, causing it to be difficult to drive in and out of the neighborhood safely. Having this business at the case numbered address would make much more traffic in an otherwise quiet neighborhood, and it would be unsafe to drive, walk, or bicycle in the neighborhood for health and pleasure. I enjoy getting out and working in my flower gardens, and I love to read, and I work on family genealogy. Sometimes I work late at night and sleep late in the morning. Genealogy is a slow and consuming process, and sometimes I work late in the evening, and this requires quiet time. I realize that a man has to work and find a place for that work, but I do not think this case number property is a good fit for Mr. Lopez, his repair shop, or his tow truck service. I respectfully submit that his petition be denied and pray sincerely that there will be no retaliation from Mr. Lopez and his friends for our objecting. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that'd like to speak?
Pardon?
I was just asking if there's, are you finished then?
That's it. Yes, thank
Okay.
you.
Is there anybody else that'd like to comment at this time on this issue? Okay. Is Mr. Lopez here today? Mr. Lopez, we'd like to give you the opportunity if you have anything you'd like to say.
If they're saying there's cars there parked there in their way or mud in the road, I tell them to pick a day. I have cameras that can zoom back anytime to look at this. This is not happening there. I got signatures from all the neighbors that were directly right around the house. They have no problem. I tow cars just like the neighbor across the street from their house today. I towed a car for them from Bloomington. I help out the neighbor when they break down. I tow their cars and I don't even charge them anything. I think I'm a good fit for the neighborhood. I take care of everybody when they break down. Worst thing you need is a tow bill when you break down. I tow my cars for insurance companies. I don't store cars. I don't buy cars. All my cars are delivered that day. If I drop them off, it's so I can make it to the next business before 5 o'clock when they close. But all my cars are all delivered. I go to sleep every single night. I'm in bed by 9 o'clock at night every single night. Don't pull people out of ditches. All my cars are scheduled for the next day from insurance companies.
Okay.
All major repairs on my trucks, like the motors or something, they're done at bigger businesses. I just do my brakes and oil changes. About it.
Okay. Jimmy?
So this is a special use to Mr. Paul's towing. So if Mr. Lopez would sell the building, so right now, like he says, I'm just trying to think in the back of my head too, as like Matt alluded to, like if I was running a plumbing business out of there, most days I don't have emergency phone calls, but if there was an emergency phone call and I needed to get into the shop at 10 o'clock at night, I mean, you can't put those type of restrictions once we've zoned it to commercial. But if he would sell it, somebody would still have to come back to get a special use to operate a business out of this property, correct?
Pending the outcome of the second case, the property would be rezoned to C2. Any permitted use would be allowed without the approval of the county board. A special use would be required, or any other use outside of vehicle mechanical repair, unless there's a specific restriction that ties it to Mr. Lopez. Yes and no.
I mean, if you pull it up on the map, Aaron's Limousine right there, it's kind of already in an industrial, not an industrial, but a commercial area right off of Airport Road, and then it comes back down, and you're basically in the garage right behind the limousine place.
When I bought the place, I thought it was zone commercial. And my bank gave me a loan on a commercial property, so I'm not understanding how this has to be this way. If I'd have known it wasn't commercial, I wouldn't be spending all this money. I fixed up the building, and I plan on building another building down farther where you wouldn't even be coming out there where they have access off of Airport Road. Yeah, if you pull up the limousine place, you can see where that whole thing's all commercial right there, up at this corner lot.
Yeah, I don't know if I restricting the times of, just trying to think through this, Terry. Sorry.
Can you pull that up? Limousine where it's zoned right now?
Not unless it was part of the case.
We have a surrounding zoning that was part of the presentation of the zoning board of appeals, certainly.
So of the 12 that were for it, were those immediate neighbors?
Yes.
So basically every immediate neighbor was for the proposal.
My understanding too, this is on a township road, and if Randy and Matt knows this is the road commissioner, I mean, nobody complained to him?
We received no comment from the road commissioner specific to the case. However, as part of this whole last year or so working with Mr. Lopez, an access permit was granted by Limestone Township to allow him to put in the additional driveway along Russell Avenue.
And is this a seal-coated drive, this road, or is it gravel? It's gravel? Okay.
These are all additional facts, just so you all know. Every time you ask him a question, you can ask, but those are additional facts outside of the hearing. If it's addressed to Andrew, though, who was at the hearing and can respond if it was addressed at the hearing. So I think questions to Andrew would probably be better.
Andrew, do we currently have an erosion control ordinance that prohibits tracking of mud and debris on the street?
That's correct. If there's any tracking onto public right-of-ways, they have a specific timeline in which they're to clean it up.
I would encourage the neighbors who are concerned about that issue to call Andrew's office to file a complaint that has taken place, and his people can make sure that it gets cleaned up, depending on where it leads from or to. It would be fairly obvious if there's mud in the street, easy enough to know who's going to be responsible for cleaning it up. So that's an issue we can handle, and we do have an ordinance in place.
Scott, are you working on trying to, okay. Is there any other questions while Scott's working on getting the map up?
Right, so the property in question is really the center of the screen, where you see the right-of-way coming through. In this situation, there is an existing house on the southern half. That was the first case in which he wants to split off. The second case then rezoned the top half, which includes the garage. And then the third case is the request to operate vehicle mechanical repair from that property, including that 1,300 square foot garage. The Holland Towing and the Aaron's Limousine takes place on the red parcel that's there. They actually own the two properties that are in between this subject parcel and the red parcel that are just part of a parking lot. And they do park at times limousines. There's been dumpsters there. We had some semi-trucks, and that's kind of what led to some of the conversation that's occurred with Mr. Lopez over the last year or so. If you followed the map, kind of zoomed out, you'd see the Interstate 474 interchange is just after that commercial. So essentially there's this scathe of commercial ranging from north to this property that is just off of the interstate.
Has everybody been able to figure out what we're talking about looking on the maps? Terry?
Andrew, is the only access to that garage off of Russell Avenue?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a dedicated driveway already existing off of Russell Avenue to that garage.
Sharon?
Is there a fence around this property? Because it almost looks like there's a fence between the house and the barn.
Yeah, as stated in the first case, there is a fence that ranges from the house to the garage. That's
Okay.
considered the backyard to the residential component of the property.
But there's no fence to the neighbor's property there. Like in the front would be it's already commercial, but in the back there, that house next door, there's no, it's just open there, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Any other questions? Are we ready to vote? Okay, let's vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we have one nay vote. Motion carried. Okay, the next case is ZBA-2024-050, petition of Michael P. Cochran. Can I have a motion to put that on the floor? Linda, second. Sharon? Andrew?
Okay, this is a request from section 20-6.2.1.1.b of the Unified Development Ordinance, which requires a special use when a proposed land split does not meet the 40-acre minimum lot size in the A1 Ag Preservation Zoning District. The petitioner proposes to divide 3.23 acres from an existing 78.296 acre tract. The subject parcel consists of ag buildings and a row crop agricultural field. The petitioner proposes to separate the agricultural buildings from the tillable acreage, as the property owner intends to sell the proposed tract to the current tenant farmer. It is located at 22422 West Clayball Road in Elmwood. There are 0 consents and 0 objections on file. All surrounding parcels are zoned to A1 Ag Preservation. Surrounding land uses include row crop agriculture and single-family dwellings. The petitioner states the property is served by 2 existing private wells and a private septic system. The well report demonstrates the main well produces 5.5 gallons per minute, meeting the UDO's requirement of at least 3 gallons per minute. They've also submitted soil borings showing the viability of a future septic system at the property. The petitioner has concurrently filed subdivision waiver request WAV 2024-0004 to waive the requirement of access to a public water supply. The petitioner's request is consistent with the recommendations of the Comprehensive Land Use Plan, as the request would maintain the agricultural use of the subject parcel. Staff recommends approval, and the Zoning Board of Appeals recommended approval 6-0.
Thank you, Andrew. Any questions? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried unanimously. Okay, the last of the zoning cases, we have ZBA-2024-055, petition of Steel Rivet Solar LLC. Can I have a motion to put that on the floor? Sharon, second. Matt? Andrew?
Thank you. This is a special use request from section 20-5.2.2.2.h of the Unified Development Ordinance, which allows for a special use in the A2 Agriculture Zoning District for a solar energy generation facility, provided that the conditions in section 7.17, ground-mounted solar energy equipment, are met. This is a special use for a 2.0 megawatt solar energy generation facility across approximately 22 acres of the subject 28.239 acre parcel. It is located at 4023 East Rome Road in Medina Township. There are 3 consents and 1 objection on file. The subject parcel consists of row crop agricultural field. To the north is the Galena Knolls subdivision, which is a single-family residential subdivision zoned R1 low-density residential. We did not have any objections come from that area. Based on GIS measurements, the nearest single-family dwelling will be located approximately 665 feet to the east of the facility's proposed fence. The petitioner indicated that the cropland north of the proposed facility will continue to be farmed and will serve as a buffer to the residential subdivision to the north. The petition does meet the standards of Section 7.17 for solar energy generation facilities, which include setbacks, height, design and installation, lighting, security, fencing, warning signage, and a decommissioning plan. An executed agricultural impact mitigation agreement from the Illinois Department of Agriculture was submitted at the time of the special use application. There was additional correspondence from Ameren, Illinois, which indicated that the application is in queue for review. The proposed substation for the project is the Halleck substation, approximately 2.8 miles to the north of the subject parcel. There was additional correspondence from the Dunlap Fire Protection District, which indicated approval. There was correspondence from the Highway Department indicating that before access to the subject property is granted, representatives from Trajectory Energy Partners will need to meet with the County Highway Department for access permits and road use agreements. The Federal Aviation Authority issued a letter indicating no hazard to air navigation. A review was conducted by Illinois Department of Natural Resources, and there was a LISA conducted on the property with a score of 172.7, which is a low rating for ag protection. The request is consistent with the Comprehensive Land Use Plan environmental stewardship theme, which encourages environmentally friendly technology. Staff recommended approval with 6 restrictions. The ZBA recommended approval with those same restrictions, and the petitioner is present today.
Any questions from Andrew? Okay, Andrew, the one that was opposition to it, how far away did they live from the
And so he was across the street and approximately 2 properties then to the west. So he felt that he did have a view of the particular parcel and was concerned about the property owner having additional land and did not necessarily feel that this was the best location, that maybe he could have sited it on one of his other parcels, which would not have impacted the view as much.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried unanimously. Moving on, we're at a subdivision waiver, case number WAV-2024-0004, petition of Michael P. Cochran. Can I have a motion to put that on the floor? Matt? Anyone else? Second? Linda? Andrew?
Thank you. This is a request to waive Section 20-8.3.4.1.b.2.a of the Unified Development Ordinance, which requires a new minor subdivision to have access to a public water supply. This case is filed in conjunction with ZBA 2024-050. Any parcel split that is less than 5 acres must be served by public water supply unless a waiver is granted. In this case, they've submitted a well test indicating 5.5 gallons per minute, which exceeds the county's minimum requirement of 3 gallons per minute. Staff did recommend approval. This case does not go before the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Thank you. Any questions for Andrew on this one? Terry?
How many parcels?
Just one.
Just one. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried unanimously. We're back up to public comment again. Is there anybody here in the audience that'd like to speak about anything else? Okay, moving on to miscellaneous. Anybody have anything for miscellaneous? Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.